Alright guys, Mr. Johnson here. Here's a short video on how to move the focus box on the cameras we're using here in this class. You may be using a different camera than the one I'm about to show you, but don't worry. The principles behind how to move the focus box are exactly the same. So let's take a look at our camera here and what we need to do to get it set up to move the focus box. First thing we're going to want to check is, here's our D-pad right here, you already know that. And here's the D-pad lock switch. We want to make sure that this is not locked. So we want to put it on the switch, not on the L, on the little white dot instead. If this is locked, if this is set to lock, the D-pad won't move. Nothing will happen when we use it. So let's make sure that's unlocked. And then next we want to wake up our camera. We wake up the camera by just coming over here and just tapping the shutter release and letting go. The easiest way to know if the camera is awake is by seeing these numbers right here. If those are there, the camera's awake. You'll notice how I didn't change anything and the camera went back to sleep. Those numbers disappeared. So you have only a few seconds here when you have to start changing things after waking up the camera, and if you don't do anything, the camera's just going to fall back asleep. So I've got my D-pad unlocked. I've got my camera awake by tapping the shutter release. Let's go ahead and look at how we change the focus box. Okay, so we're looking through the camera now, and you can see the camera has gone back to sleep because it's been a while since I've tapped the shutter release. Another way you can tell if the camera is asleep or not is because the numbers, when the camera's awake, will show up here at the bottom of the screen, just like you see right there. So with the camera awake, we are now ready to move the focus box around. And to do it, all we're going to do is just move the D-pad. If I move the D-pad to the left or to the right, you can see the focus box is now moving wherever I move the D-pad. The focus box will stay inside of the lines you see going around inside the camera, but we have quite a few options for where we can move it to. So it's really pretty simple. Moving the focus box just requires that the camera be awake, that the D-pad be unlocked, and that we just tap the D-pad around to move it. You'll notice the camera is staying awake while I'm moving the D-pad. It's not going back to sleep. That's because I'm making changes. As long as I continue to make changes, the camera will stay awake. As soon as I stop and wait for 6 seconds, the camera will go back to sleep. So there you go, guys. That's how we move the focus box using these cameras. Let's take a quick look at how autofocus works on the other cameras that we have. These are the D3200s. And you'll notice, first of all, there's no D-pad lock switch for the D-pad. The D-pad's just always on, which is fine. We can deal with that. Pretty much no problem. Let's go ahead and look in the camera and see how it works, though. So the same rules pretty much apply here. We've got to tap the shutter release to wake up the camera. You can see the numbers down at the bottom of the screen. Pull it up, and we're just going to move the focus box here. Only here we don't actually see the box moving around, but we see a little red light blink wherever we've moved the focus position to. So wherever you want to move it here, just move the D-pad right here, just up, down, left, or right. And you will watch as I do that, the focus box is going to bounce around wherever I tell it to go.